Alright guys, let's take a look at the use of the debugger as well as LogCat to drill ourselves a little bit better into getting insight into our the way our Android Studio is processing things. So this project is available. I've given you the zip so you can unzip it and follow along. And we're going to start by opening our LogCat. And we're also going to see about the use of our debugger. So let's clear that out. So clear everything here. Now in terms of the debugger, a very powerful tool. It lets you step into the code sort of through one line at a time. So to make that, well, first of all, this basic app is simply going to show you some images, and then when you click on the images, it'll flip it to other images. Well, let's get our product going. Well, first of all, let's see about dropping in debug points. So study your code and just pay attention to what you might regard as being important points that you want to drop the debugger at. So you go here to what's called the gutter, and you click, and that puts a little red dot there. And as you already know, log just dumps stuff out to the log console. So here I'm starting at on create, and I'm going to start now my app by saying debug. And we can see stuff clicking out there in the LogCat. So we see things getting started up now. Alright, so here I am at the on create, and it's going to pause there until I step into the next stage. And the way I do that is by going over to here. I could stop the debugger, I could pause, or I could resume. And another powerful thing I have here is the ability to view what's going on with various variables, right? So I can say here, evaluate expression. Nothing to show in this case. Well, it's not an expression, so that wouldn't work. I could just play around, so I'll encourage you to pause the video for a couple of seconds and play around. And when you're ready, you can step into the next, you can resume, right? So just resume or step into. So here I could say step over. If I wanted to not evaluate a certain line, I could step into or I could step out. Now step out is if you're in a very deeply nested method and you just want to get back to your calling point. So right now I'm going to say step into, and that brings me to the next step of the program. And here you see I've gone into some of the source code now. Now I've already done this, so you're not going to see it. However, you may at this point be seeing an invitation to download the source code so you can get into this stuff. So there's our app, our component activity main. All right, so I'll step into and pay attention, right? See what's going on here with your various elements of your Android architecture. So just play with it for a couple seconds. So owner, for example, this tells you in terms of the Android architecture what this owner object is holding on to. So that's kind of holding on to all of the elements of your architecture. Let's step on to our next one now. So notice we're still here in save state registry controller. So now you're getting an opportunity to see your source code. And when I want to jump back out of this method to go back to my point of calling, I can step out. Right, so here I am back at component activity. Keep stepping through, see how it's getting set up. And I'll step out and out back up to my component activity main. Fragment activity main, and now I'm all the way back up to my code which I wrote, which is main activity. So let's step over now because I don't want to go into the code which is going to do the logging. So at this point, I'll choose the step over activity. There I am in binding. Very important method here. Layout inflator is a reference to the layout inflator system service. Saw that before, which is responsible for instantiating your layout XML files into view objects. It's passed as a parameter to the inflate method. Now, I got this when I was running this before. When I was in the source code, it shows you in explicitly commented detail what each of these services is doing. Right, so now we'll carry on. So we'll step over, I guess, because I don't want to go into the details of that code. Now here I am still in main activity, set content view, and there's my binding root. Well, that could be interesting, so let's do an evaluation of that. So there's all the things which binding.root is doing. And with time and practice and experience with pattern recognition, you're going to come to recognize which of these is important things in your situation. So once again, close out of that. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to get my dog image over on the app. This, as we know, is what? It's a reference to the object that we're in. So there's all the data fields which are in context in this object. All right, doing good here. So now you see the line which has a little bit of highlighting. That's where we are. And whoops, I want to leave my debug point there for now. So step over, because I don't want to go, I could, and I think you should, go into the source code of that system service. So for me, I'm going to step over. Now I'm binding my dog image. And now I'm going to log something out to my main activity, to my LogCat here. So again, I'll step over. And I see system messages, and this, as we know, is occurring because I have put that statement there. I've said log, and I've tagged it as a certain thing if I want to track that in my debugger, and I can dump out a message right there. All right, we're doing good. Let's keep going. So now step over again. I've jumped down into my instrumentation method. Don't really want to be there right now, so I'll step out. Back up to activity thread. Launch activity. See, I'm just reading it off up there. It took a couple of seconds to update. And I just want to see the picture of the dog now. So that was to demonstrate LogCat as well as debug points. So what am I going to do now? Resume program right there. So that was all the stuff that was happening in my onStart lifecycle activity. And onStart was called right there. Once again, I'll resume. And what does resume do? Resume takes you to your next debug point. So you can step into, step over, or if it's a long program and there's stuff that you want to sort of zone out of right now because you want to zone into the important thing for what you're looking for to make your assignment work, for example, you can just resume to your next breakpoint. So here I'm getting into the super constructor. Once again, continue. And this is very good for making yourself explicitly aware of all of the life cycle events of your code. Right, so my app was turned off, so I turned it on, so there's my cute little dog. And you guys, I think, already know that the way this works now is you go to your resource manager and you can bring your images into there. Right? So drawable is that stuff which is referenced in your configuration into your view layout file. Right, so there's my dog. And I can put description strings right here. Right, so I could add more description strings there if necessary to be referred to in the XML. I'm going to close all this stuff down for a minute. Close these out. And when I click on that image, it's going to I have 3 images right here. And when I click, it's going to randomly select another image. How? Right there. I have an array of dog images. I'm creating a random index. And that's randomly selecting another dog image. So my first dog is being selected there, and then the code is invoking another image. And if you want to get more images there, you can go to your project view. You can right click on any folder. You could actually just go in your Windows Explorer as well, or your Mac Explorer. You don't need to do it here, but since you're already here, right click, open in Explorer, and there is my dog images right there, and you could go and put other stuff there as well. Right, so the key point here is drop images into your drawable and then practice debugging this code and just get this app working. Nothing too nudie with this point, but I'm not sure if we've showed you the debugger yet. So please pause this video now, do this by yourself. You can either build this up by yourself from the provided source code, or you can just unzip my zip file and play and examine, practice putting your own LogCat messages in, as well as practice pausing the debugger. It's a very hard thing, and it sort of sounds complicated to explain by talking. It's a very kinetic thing. Once you do it a couple of times, then it's going to be a standard part of your coding practice. And I hope from now on, whenever you do coding, you just make the debugger and the LogCat to be a part of your standard practice, and just make your eyes and your brain trained to do that pattern recognition. So go and do this now, please.